they don't have the talent or capability to make a good Metal Gear Solid without Kojima.
I want something different. I'm sorry. If it's the same old hide and seek bullshit, I don't want it. They can keep it. Games, and more games. Welcome back to the Multi-Tap with your host, Lee Boy, and the self-proclaimed king of games, Kruja. So this must be all up his alley. We're talking about the showcases that happened this week with Sony. What games stood out most to you? We're going to go through some of those, but I want to know what games that they showcased stood out to you.
So I think the games that really stood out at the showcase to me happened to be, Metal Gear Snake Eater was a really good game. Even though it is just a remake, which we'll go into a little bit later. The game looked fantastic, or at least the CGI part of it looked fantastic. I don't see how they're gonna mess up the gameplay unless they change it too much. And the other one is Spider-Man, of course. I've played the first one, beat that, platinum it. The second one I own, I haven't played. And by second one I mean Miles Morales. I haven't played it yet. I do want to play it. And then this one just looks like it's just a continuation of an otherwise fantastic superhero series. The Spider-Man games have always traditionally been good. I mean, there's been a couple of less than stellar ones here and there, but most of the time, Spider-Man delivers good quality.
Spider-Man games are awesome. They definitely took the Arkham series style and expanded upon it. I believe they actually did it better as far as how they are able to implement the combat, the world, the action. So give it up. Kudos to Arkham, but those guys over at was it Insomniac? The
Insomniac,
guys that's
yeah.
making, yeah. Oh man, they just putting their foot, nail, toes all in the Spider-Man joint.
Yeah, they
So
they they know it in and out. They know it. It's
they
just
do. They
fantastic.
really immerse you, and that was the thing that happened with Arkham. It made you feel like you was Batman. When you play these Spider-Man games, you really feel like you're Spider-Man. They did an excellent job.
Yeah,
Totally excellent job.
one of the
Uh,
best things that they nailed down is the swinging, because the swinging is what you really need to nail down to feel like Spider Man, and I feel like that swinging is top notch.
Swinging is good. I think to me, you say swinging. Okay, I'm not gonna argue on that. I agree with you, but I'll add on to that the combat as well, because you could swing. That's great. That you definitely got to get that down to be Spider-Man, because that's one of the key components to him getting around and moving around the city. Definitely. But when you get into combat, oh man, the way they incorporate how he fights with his webbing, it's straight out of the comic book. Like it's literally straight out of the comic book, and what you would imagine the things that Spider-Man would do. So the Spider-Man games that's coming out of Sony are awesome. They're amazing. The Snake Eater, with me, I think we talked about this off camera. I
Oh,
was saying,
hold on.
huh?
I still have like the two other games that I liked.
Okay.
One of them I'm gonna promote every time that I can on this channel, and that's Dragon's Dogma 2. Because I was a fan of the first one, and I think that was fantastic. Even though I don't think it is a Sony exclusive, it was shown here at this showcase.
Uh-huh.
And the hidden gem is always going to be Cat Quest, hands down. And this is
Yes, that was on
Pirates
my
of the
list.
Caribbean. Yeah,
That's
Pirates of
on
the
my
Caribbean.
list.
I can't wait. I like the first two Cat Quest. Can't wait for Pirates of the Caribbean. So
So so you brought up the game just now on Dragon's Dogma. You got me into it. You said you should go check it out and play it. Now I thoroughly enjoyed the game. But let me ask you this question. After looking at this trailer from the showcase, do you graphically, it don't look like it improved much though.
it did improve much. So the problem is that we're seeing it through streaming, so you have to keep that in mind. So it did improve. It probably went from I want to say graphically it looked like a PlayStation 3 game. And
Yeah.
I think this looks like a PlayStation 4.5 game. It doesn't look like a PlayStation 5 game, of course, and it's not meant to, because the world is going to be so big and there's so much stuff for you to do in it. And it looks like they added new mechanics, like when they repaired the bridge. That looks like it's going to be a fun little mechanic. So I don't expect it to look like it's not going to look like the next generation action RPG. That's never what it was. It's all about the gameplay and the world and getting you immersed in that. So I didn't expect it to blow me out graphically, but it does look better. It does look better. The spells look better. The animations look better. The movements look better. I do think it's a big upgrade. It's a bigger
Okay.
upgrade than Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3. I can tell you that.
I'm
So
gonna I'm gonna reserve judgment on that one, me personally, because I like Dragon's Dog. Don't get me wrong, but just looking at this, I was expecting a little bit more as far as when I saw it graphically. it started to seem like to me as this was a 1.0. And I'm like, I don't want to just flat out say that, but I'm only assuming that off of what I saw, because I'm like, this graphics doesn't look like something that was on the PlayStation 5. This looked like it was actually developed, probably like they were already in development and they didn't get, you know what I'm saying, to the final cut. So it's like probably they had this years ago that they were doing it. And then when the system was released, they might have to upgrade the graphics a little bit. That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't look like you said, you pointed out, doesn't look like something that's on the PlayStation 5s to me, so I'm not long-winded on it. So I'm gonna save my judgment on that. But Dragon's Dogma 1, like you said, the gameplay has always been fire. So I'm not expecting it for them to shell out on that, even if the graphics aren't what I think it is. Let's hypothetically say the graphics are what we saw. The gameplay, I'm still feel that it's going to be amazing. I'm pretty sure that fans have waited for so long for the sequel that there has to be new things going on that they're going to implement in the game, because not for nothing, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is smearing all over these games. And what I mean by that is a lot of games that they showcased that had elements from Breath. And I'm like, oh, in my notes, I wrote it down like, oh, that's Breath of, they got that from that. They got, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, they really saw this game and was like, yo, what implements and things we could take from there, implement it into a game. So yeah, they got their hands. Listen, Zelda got his hands in almost all these RPGs right now. So I'm happy about that.
And that's why for years I originally wanted you to play that Breath of the Wild, is just so you can see the influences that it had in the industry.
Yeah,
that's one of those games that it influenced the industry. Yeah,
it did. So Snake Eater, that was the other one that you talked about, and on the Cats joint. Oh man, the cat. Hold on.
Have you played the other Cat Quest?
Cat Quest.
Have you played
Cat Quest? I'm not. This is my listen. This is my first time being introduced to Cat Quest, because I saw the trailer that they had and I was like, okay. And when it popped up, the first thing in my notes I wrote down, I played this side scroller. That's what I wrote down. I said I'm getting Mario vibes from this. I'm getting because it has the map, and then you walk on the map, and you actually can fight on the map. Then they show the part where you get on the boat. Then they show the side scroll, and I'm like, the colors and the way it looks and it being a pirate, I'm pretty sure it's all about getting loot and stuff like that. And I'm like, is that co-op?
No, I don't know. I don't know if this one is going to be co-op. So essentially, Cat Quest is it's an action RPG.
I'm all for it then.
Yeah, it's action RPG, and it's not really side-scrolling. It's actually isometrical view. I don't know about Pirates of the Caribbean. I got to look at it a little bit more. What just intrigued me was when they got into the boat and he was starting to go off. But essentially, there's an overworld map, and then on the overworld map, you can actually go into dungeons. So there are dungeons and things like that. It's it's just pure fun. It's pure hairball fun. I don't know how to explain it really.
You mentioned isometric as far as the camera angle, but there's also a lot of side scrolling that I saw in it. Like it breaks away from that. It has a whole bunch of elements that they use as far as camera angles. So
you're right on that. I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, look at the trailer. Look at that. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute, they got that in it too. But that was good.
Because what happened is I was eating when it happened, and I almost choked that they were making another Cat Quest, because I love the Cat Quest. I got introduced to it on the Switch because that was during the time when there was barely any games, and I was buying everything on the Switch. And I was like, what is this silly thing? And I think one YouTuber said that I should check it out, right? So I decided to download it, and I fell in love with Cat Quest. I believe they wound up releasing it on the tablet later on, because the controls are intuitive and it's not too many controls, but it's pure fun. So you may have to look into that, because you might be able to get it on a tablet somewhere, or even on your girl's Switches.
Listen, that trailer had me intrigued. If you're saying that's not the first game and there's another one, I definitely want to check it out.
There's two more. There's two more. There's Cat Quest and Cat Quest 2, I believe.
Okay. Snake Eater. I know I said it like 18 times before we even got into it. But Snake Eater, and we said this off camera, I want them to do something different with the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
They tried.
I'm tired.
They tried that. They tried that when Kojima first left. They tried something different. It was called Metal Gear Survive, and it was basically a horde mode game. Didn't work out. I don't think they can make. I don't think they don't have the talent or capability to make a good Metal Gear Solid without Kojima.
I want something different. I'm sorry. If it's the same old hide and seek bullshit, I don't want it. They can keep it. I don't. I'm tired. I'm sick of it. These games, after I understand that certain games are built that way. And mind you, this is not a knock to anybody out there that might say, well, that's the whole purpose of the Metal Gear franchise. Like it's been like that since day one. The whole running and hiding and all of that. I get it, I understand, fine, but sometimes that gets stale. And we're gonna touch on Assassin's Creed, and I'm because it's the same shit with them. You know, they we need something different. You know, but that's just me when it comes down to that. You guys like that out there that love hiding and seeking and running away from enemies and not really getting up close and personal, beating and kicking ass for Metal. Listen, he looked like somebody that whooped some ass. I'm just saying. So, man.
Yeah, but Snake Eater, the difference that sets Snake Eater apart from Assassin's Creed is the story. So you get more invested with Snake Eater. I told you I had gripes with Assassin's Creed since the second Assassin's Creed because everything was the same.
Let me touch on that. You said the story. I'm not talking about the story. Snake Eater, I'm pretty sure is gonna have a great story. Metal Gear always. I love the story for Metal Gear, you know. But to me, it's the mechanics of the gameplay. It's just the same shit over and over. Now, what you was talking about Assassin's Creed. Matter of fact, let's just jump into that because that was also one of the games that they showed. So go ahead.
Originally, when they showed Assassin's Creed, I thought that was just going to be like a remake. I didn't realize it was a brand new game that they were coming out with because it always looks the same. It just always
bro. it looks. I'm like, and the crazy part, you know what the crazy part? I've heard people praise this for like we're getting back to the basics. I'm like, no, I don't want this shit.
Like, well, because after they did first, you know, they did the whole ancient Greece one where they had the Assassin's Creed, and then they went into Vikings. So there was only two logical steps to go to, and that was space or going back to basics. And they chose to go back to basics. They should have went to space.
There's one more. There's one more they didn't touch yet. And I heard from what I understand, there is a game that's in development. It's supposed to come out next year. I'm hoping it's true. I don't know if it's a rumor or not, but
this is what Feudal. It was supposed to be a long time. Yeah,
this is what I'm talking about. This is to me, Assassin's Creed has been gearing up for this one particular game that I hope comes out. It needs to be in feudal Japan. Yeah. It needs to be a ninja game. I'm sorry, everything screams ninja when you look at this game in and out. And I'm like, I'm tired of seeing sand. We've seen so much of that. I want to see feudal Japan as a ninja. I want to walk around killing people, fighting people as a ninja, poofing in all kind of ninja gear. Nothing screams assassin like a ninja. And everything that these characters do from every game screams we need to be in Japan. We need to be in the feudal era as samurais and ninjas, but mostly ninjas. And I'm hoping... The rumor was it was called Assassin's Creed Japan. That was supposed to be the open world Assassin's Creed game. I don't know if that's true or not, or if it's still ongoing or whatever. But supposedly it's supposed to come out next year. That's the whole big thing about that. But I'm hoping that's true.
I'm hoping that makes sense because I remember them specifically working on that, or there was a rumor of them working on a feudal one.
Yeah, it had a dude. The picture that I saw said Assassin's Creed Japan, and it had like a dude like this with a sword, and he was on top of like a building. And I'm like, yo, this is it right here. You want to breathe life back into this shit? This is it. Everything that they do in these Assassin's Creed games is ninja based. Espionage and disguising, vanishing, all of that shit is ninja. Let's just get a legit ninja game. You done went to Egypt. You done went to America. You done went all over the world. Why are we not in Japan, bro? Let's go.
Let's just get a modern day Tenchu.
That's what. Honestly, this would be Assassin's Creed in Japan will probably be the closest you get to that. You know. Yeah. But also, hold on. I'm looking at my notes. I might have to edit this. Phantom Blade.
Phantom Blade looks okay.
Phantom Blade. Oh my god!
It looks like the combat looks good. The problem that I have with these games is that all the games that are in this style are all generic. It's just generic. They're like 5 hours of generic cosity. You know, that's what it is. It's just generic. Phantom Blade looks okay. I'm not gonna. There's no arguments against it. It's probably gonna be a fun time. It's probably gonna be one of those games that you're gonna love, and then it's gonna be forgotten by the end of the year.
But the fight scenes, this is what I got as my notes. My note says this. I'm getting Shadows Never Die vibes.
Okay.
Fighting on a carriage. That the scene when he was fighting on a horse carriage, bananas. Or where they was throwing the blades at him, he was knocking it back. And the character has, according to what the trailer is saying, he has 66 days to live. Is there a countdown in the game? And he says, I have to get my heart back. So I'm assuming somebody somehow, some way magically stole his heart.
Yeah.
And they were like, just let the time run out on this cat. So he's trying to, I guess, get to the final boss or the final monster, whatever, and get his heart back. But he only has 66 days to live. Does that mean in game you only have a set amount of time to do certain things before your character dies? I don't know. I'm just assuming.
I wouldn't run too much into that, because if that was a mechanic, that would have been first and foremost. Because most of the games that have some type of timing mechanic like that, they put that in front. I don't think that's the case here. Maybe it's a roguelike. I'm not sure if it's a roguelike or not, but it just looks like it's one of those games that it's high, fast, good action, but it's like you press X circle, or in your case, what's the buttons? BA or BA, and then you do a quick time event here, and then you do it again, and you just button mash for a little bit. Oh, there's a boss, you got to dodge, and then you press another quick time event. It looks like it's just one of those formulaic games that it looks beautiful. It's probably going to be fun, but it's not going to be memorable.
Sort of like the God of War games, like the quick time events in there where you do a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, the old God of War. The new ones are a little bit better.
Okay. Helldivers 2.
I mean, is it me, or does this look like Starship Troopers?
Bro, I got that right here. I wrote that down right here, bro. I said it. The first thing I wrote down was Sweet Liberty, when your man had the commercial. She's like, Sweet Liberty.
No. Sweet Liberty. No!
As his family was dying.
That's not a bad thing though, because like we enjoyed the Starship Trooper game.
Starship Trooper game is dope.
And this looks like this has a little bit more variety of it. Like it's a little bit more polished than the Starship Trooper game.
I was saying the same thing. It looks like this game may be, not a knock against the Starship Trooper game, but this game seems like it may be a little bit more customizable. Like it might be a little bit more customizable. Like you may be actually be able to put your character and to make him look the way you want him to look. Where Starship Trooper is like a set look, a set attire. Yeah. Because customization in the game takes you you have a solid game, but when you add customization to it, it's just that much sweeter.
Yeah, one of the games we're gonna talk about later has a lot of customization.
Okay. So that was Helldivers 2. Let me get another one. 33 Immortals.
Okay, so 33 Immortals, I saw the Xbox trailer first, and the 33 Immortals is one of the games that I'm hype off of. I completely forgot it was in the Sony one. That is one of the games that I'm hype off of. I just don't know if I have 33. I have 33 friends, but I don't know if I have capable friends that can actually play something like this, because it's a roguelike essentially. And it's it doesn't have it's not the best graphics. It's one of the old school 16-bit top-down camera graphics, but this is right up my alley. You know me, I love my indie games. I love my crazy shenanigans, bullet hell shooters. And when I started seeing more people added, and then it was like 33 people, I was like, there's some way, somehow I got to get on an internet forum and find a group of 33 players and try to join them just to experience that.
I'm pretty sure they're going to have matchmaking. I'm pretty sure the core team that we already got, if we can get enough for them to be online, I'm pretty sure they'll matchmake us with whoever else and stuff. It'll work its way out. But yeah, that's crazy. I want to know what 33 people, like, what classes are there? Is it a class system? They didn't really give too much. I know I saw people with bows. I saw people with two-handed swords. I seen like sorcerers. Like, so I'm understanding there is some kind of class mechanic to it. As far as weapons,
it might not be class mechanics. So this can go one of two ways. It could be like your classic traditional traditional RPG in which you pick a class and you pick skills and things like that.
Right.
Or if this follows the roguelike strategy, which is that run is what determines what you are, because you randomly pick up spells, you randomly pick up weapons, you randomly pick up things, and that determines your fighting style basically. And so every time you die, you restart.
With 33 people though?
Not necessarily, no. No, I think it'd be madness, but I think it'd be a little bit good madness. It'd be fun madness.
Okay. Sword of the Sea looks stylish.
It looks stylish, and the thing that really sells Sword of the Sea for me is that I'm a big Journey fan. That was one of my favorite games of all time when I played Journey, and it's made by the same people.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's made by the same people. I know they made a couple other games like Abzu and I forget there's one other game that they made. But Journey, I don't know if you ever know, but Journey's like it was just like a small indie game, and you play this one character, and you're in the desert. You have no idea what to do, so you're just walking, and it's just about you walking on this incredible journey, and the path opens up. And then with the technology in the day, I believe this was PlayStation 3 when it came out, people would randomly join you, but you couldn't say nothing to each other. You could make like a little bell sound. That's it. You don't know who this person is. You don't see the person's name. You don't see none of that. And it's just a random person, and they're on this journey with you for a small section of the map. And then if you guys split up later on, there'll be another person, but you don't know if that's the same person. It could be somebody random, and you're just on this journey to figure out what happens. And it was just a fantastic, beautiful experience. And so this has the same art style. Looks like it's a little bit better. But I would try it. I would try it.
Okay. All right. Foam War. I mean, no, sorry. Foam Stars. I said Foam Wars.
Yeah,
Foam
so this
Stars.
is one of
This
those.
is Square Enix's attempt at Splatoon meets Fortnite.
Yeah, we could pass.
Pass.
We got better games for this already. We got, if you want that, you got Splatoon, which is fantastic, or you got Fortnite. Those are your two things. I mean, they have Knockout City and other things like that in between, but honestly, if you're gonna invest it in more well-established things, because you don't know how long Knockout City is gonna go. And with these particular games, you tend to play them for years on end. Foam Superstars, I don't.
Yeah,
I have to see something. Foam Star. I have to see more on that. The jury's still out.
Yeah, that looks. When I first saw, I said this is Splatoon meets Fortnite. They're trying to get into that market. It seems, which is odd for Square Enix. Like that might be the Square Enix America kind of thing, because that's not their realm, bro.
That's not odd, because Square Enix has been trying to get they want that live service money. They've been trying to do that. That's why they came out with the Marvel Avengers, and it failed. They want that live service, so they're trying to figure out where they're gonna get live service at. But their live service is Final Fantasy 14. They should just come up with Final Fantasy 17.
Well, 17, according to if the math pans out right, 17 would be the next online game.
Right, which is what they should just stick there. Stick with what you know. Don't try to, because Square's not one of those companies that can do something that they don't know. Even though I love the fact that they try. I love the fact that they try, but their niche is their niche, right? And just make your current franchises better. Give us another Final Fantasy Tactics. Give us something like that. You're better at that, right? Or make a Tactics Online. That will give you a live service.
I like
figure it out. Yeah, figure it out. Figure out some way to do that. Give us something that because that Marvel Avengers was a travesty. It was the biggest property on the planet. It was fumbled.
Plucky Squire.
Plucky Squire looks okay. It looks okay. It looks like something I would like to play.
That definitely like something you'd play. I know you'd play that, because that game, when I saw it, I wrote it down. It said, "This is giving me Mario vibes. You pop in and out from 2D to 3D, and it's an out of the box idea."
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So definitely that looks very it looks like fun. I ain't gonna front. I would play that.
Yeah, I would too. I would play that.
Tear Down.
Which one was
Tear
that?
Down was that Minecraft looking game that kind of
that looks fun. That looks like it's
broke
fun.
Apart stuff.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I think that was an EA. I think that was an early access for a little bit, and I believe that the whole goal of it is to tear down the area. It seems like it's a more story-driven game. It's not. It's one of those things where there's a scenario. You load into the scenario, and then you just have fun with the scenario, and then you're done. You don't really get rewards or nothing like that, unless they did a lot of work since the last time I checked it, which was like 2 or 3 years ago. That's what that essentially was. Is that you just go in there, and there's a couple of different ways to blow up buildings and things like that, and then you're done. And then you can restart the map or go into another scenario.
Towers of Ashaba, something like that. I can't pronounce. I know I'm pronouncing that totally wrong, but that was the game where it was a lot of It looks like it looks like Breath of the Wild Tears, the one where the guy's running and he's climbing up the wall, and he has to glide on top of these big wave-looking creatures, and he's getting crystals off their back. And I'm like, yo, this is giving me totally a lot of Breath of the Wild Tears vibes right here. I'm like, oh man, visually it looks awesome. The game, I don't know, they only showed a little bit of it, but what they showed was definitely trying to get at that audience. Definitely
yeah.
try to say, look what we got here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, we got the paraglider. We got
Exactly.
this.
We got the glider,
Yeah.
you know. Final Fantasy 16.
Well, I've seen the opening sequence of Final Fantasy 16. I didn't play the demo yet. The opening sequence alone is fantastic. So I think this is going to be a knockout the park for Square Enix. This is what they know. It's not, even though I didn't have a problem with the car scene in Final Fantasy 15. I know a lot of people thought that was boring. This starts off the very beginning of Final Fantasy 16 starts off in a completely different direction. It's action. It's packed. So I think they're gonna hit a home run out of this.
With me with Final Fantasy 16, my issue is I'm big on the Japanese scene as far as how it looks. Like I like my Japanese games to look Japanese. This looks nothing like a Japanese game. This
Well,
is
'cause you're
very
not-
Western. This looks very westernized. It's very taking influence from the Western side. And every Final Fantasy I've ever played, it looks like a Final Fantasy game. This doesn't. This looks like a basic Sword and Shield MMO, not MMO, excuse me, basic Sword and Shield type game. And with that being said, that's the one bad part that I feel that I don't like about it. But what I did like about it and the takeaway that I got from the trailer was it seems like in this game, and I could be wrong, but from what I gathered from is that the summons have hosts now. Like the main character, he's the host of Infrit. And then you got the other ones who are the host of the other summons. Just off the strength of what I saw in the trailer, which I thought, wow, if that's the premise of the game, that you are basically the avatar for the summons and you go around fighting the other summons, that's bananas. So I give it that.
So the spoiler, the opening sequence, you will discover that.
Well, I just got that from the trailer, so I'm not spoiling nothing. I'm just
No.
I just
What I'm
put
saying,
two and
what
two
I'm saying
together
is,
from what I saw.
in the opening sequence, you actually control one of the summons. Control them. So yeah. So that is the premise, and I think I agree with you. I still think it looks Japanese, and it's not Japanese, but it still looks like traditional Final Fantasy ish. The reason why it looks more Western is because their audience is not Western. They don't really have much of a. I mean, they still have a Japanese audience, but most of their fans are here. That's why the games release day and date with Japan. Not their entire fan base, of course. They still have a Japanese following, but most of their customers are here in the West, and that's why
Okay.
That's why their games are more action packed now versus turn based.
Okay, Alan Wake 2.
I never played Alan Wake. I've heard good things about Alan Wake. I've seen a couple of things on it. Never played it. Never got to play around with it. I'm pretty sure this is going to be right up the same alley, and it's going to be fantastic as well. I just never got to play them.
Same here. I never played it. I've seen a lot of gameplay on it. I've seen a ton of gameplay on it because I did play Resident Evil, and this falls right in line with those type of games. The Silent Hill. That's what I wrote down. I got the Silent Hill, Resident Evil type games, and it's a visually. Now, it's the part that I wrote down. Visually improved over the previous games. Like this looks way better than what I saw in the previous games. And I think that's only because, if I'm not mistaken, the last Alan Wake game was it
GameCube?
one or two consoles ago? I could be wrong.
So it originally came out on the 360.
So I'm saying some consoles ago,
Yeah.
So all right,
so
so I was right.
The GameCube era. Yeah, the GameCube era was when it came out.
All right, so I was right. It was a while ago before this game was released and all of that. So definitely visually improved. If you like the original, I'm pretty sure you probably like this one too. Grand Blue Fantasy. This is up my alley. JRPGs. I love the art style. The action looks great, and it has fantasy in the name. You got me. I'm hooked. I'm there. Say less. Okay, so Grand Blue Fantasy definitely looks good. It looks like something, and I've always said this, I'm a sucker for a really good cell shaded anime type game. That's the reason why when Blue Protocol dropped, even though I feel like there may be another game, hint, that we're playing right now that will take up my time. Ultros. Ultros was the game that was a side-scrolling game that kind of looked at like 33 Immortals, but it was like a single-player game, and the character was fighting some kind of like stuff that was coming out of the ground. It looked good. Well, this is what I wrote down. I said more and more games like this are being developed in this style, which only will improve with time, and it gives the possibilities on what can be done in the future. Because games that are made like this, and it's like a slim, it's like a slim
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
A simplistic style.
It actually has a genre attached to it. I was letting you struggle there for a little bit, but it does have a genre. So they're known as Metroidvanias, and so basically they're in the style. No, Metroidvania. So,
I'm sorry, they said Metroid Invaders. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, they're known as Metroidvanias. So they're like in the style of the old Metroid and Castlevania games. So the style is called Metrovania. So I was just letting you struggle there for a little bit, but yeah, no. It's like it's an old school style, but it's with new school art, so it comes up fantastic. It's usually a little bit difficult, or a little bit on the difficult side for gamers nowadays. So you got like Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is a good one to go.
Yes, like Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight is fantastic.
So you got, like I said, these games. More and more people are making these types of games, and they're really changing what it is to make a side scroller game and how to interact with it. So I'm all for it. Hey, keep bringing it on. We talked about Dragon's Dogma 2, Arizona Sunshine.
That wasn't the one.
Sunshine, which is a VR game.
Okay, I don't know.
It was the game that looked like Dead Rising and Dead Island.
I think I skipped the VR stuff.
Okay.
I shouldn't have, but I did skip the VR stuff.
So they have that game. They have Resident Evil VR is coming out, which is like it's a no-brainer. I mean, they'll throw anything on VR.
Is that Resident Evil 4 VR? Because I've heard that that's going to be fantastic. Yeah, I think that's going to be.
We got Crossfire, was a shooter game, and then you got Synapses VR. What did I put here? It looks fast-paced. It's like this. Imagine not it's like Portal. I wouldn't say it's Portal, but like imagine if you was in Portal, you actually had a gun that you could shoot, something like that. Where you go through this portal and it takes you into this world where I think the computer is like evil and you got to fight against the computer to save stuff. And it looks very fast paced. This is what I wrote down. It looks fast paced. It looks simple. Definitely something that you might have fun with. But I know for me, unfortunately, I'm going to get frustrated due to the fast pace overall. Because I know for a fact I'm going to die. I'm going to be mad because it's everything going at fast pace and in VR. I'm gonna get upset. So that's Synapses VR. And then you have a Beat Saber, very popular game, Beat Saber with the whole do. Never was really into that. I would play it, because I did like Rock Band, and it's really no different than that as far as being on time with hitting the right things. But I would play it.
I want to play Beat Saber. I really do. So I would probably get a VR just for that. Beat Saber is one of those fantastic games, and it's a good way to lose weight.
It keep you active, definitely a way to keep active and playing games. That's always a plus and a good thing.
No, I heard it really beats you up.
Yeah, no, because you gotta really, you know what I mean? That's gonna be a thing.
There you go.
Destiny. They showed Destiny. They showed a Destiny trailer called The Final Shape. And they're gonna have a showcase 8/22, which was weird because I'm like, why would you throw that into a PlayStation showcase? I don't, that kind of, that fitting in there was kind of weird. Concord is a space game. It seems like everybody trying to get on this Starfield action. You know what I mean? With a lot of this, listen, after we wrap up, there's Gran Turismo, right? Mm-hmm. Then we talked about Spider-Man. So let me get back into Concord and Starfield. No Man's Sky has to get credit for all of this.
Well, what when we first started talking about after the showcase, what did I refer to?
You said
Starfield as?
You said Starfield was No Man's Skyrim. Which is not for nothing. That is an excellent summer. Like you can't sum it more better than that. You can't. Yeah. We're gonna talk about Starfield. That's gonna be a little bit when we get into Xbox. We're moving into that, but that's perfect. That's a perfect title for that.
Yeah,
No Man's Skyrim. That is basically what it is. Now with Xbox, we had South of Midnight, which would look like it's like this Louisiana Bayou kind of game.
Yeah,
looks pretty. I don't know. They didn't really give us much for me to go on. The only thing I could think of is like you probably play like this Monster Hunter, that deals with slaying, I guess, either monsters or demons or something like that, but they didn't really give us much. It looks very Borderlandish as far as the way they did the art style. So that's all I can get from that. And then you had Star Wars Outlaw. What did you think about that? I think this is the Ubisoft game that they said was the open world game. You play like a smuggler, like Han Solo's sister in the open world. So, what do you think about that? Damn, you had to whale back.
It's gonna be a decent game, right? I'm not gonna shit all over it. It's probably gonna be a 7 or 8, right? And it's probably gonna be a decent game. And it, the shooting was a little generic. It was a little type boring. And then you get in the spaceship, and the spaceship goes off, and that's all fine and dandy, right? These characters are they're always new, they're always boring, they're always generic. You have the Star Wars universe. Where are our Star Wars characters? You're telling me you couldn't make an adventure like this for Han Solo? Somebody that we would actually care about? If this, I don't even know her name. If she dies, do we care? I wouldn't. And it doesn't have to be Han Solo. You could have had this adventure with Princess Leia. I don't care. I don't care what gender you put in there. But you have these generic characters saying, I love Fallen. I've always speak about it. I love Fallen Order, right? Jedi Fallen Order. The character is still generic. They make you like the character later on through the story, but I guarantee you would have liked that character better if it was Luke Skywalker. I bet you.
You're talking about they need to use more of the
licensed characters.
But let me say this: can I piggyback on that and say this? I think that one of the main reasons why they don't or probably don't use it because they don't know how to handle the main characters. They would just fuck it up. If you really think about it, they rather I would rather, and me, not for nothing, I'm on the other side of the coin here with this. I'd rather them take a new character and fuck that up than take my characters that I love and fuck it up.
No, I'd rather them not fuck it up. There's a possibility where you don't fuck it up.
Listen, they're gonna fuck it up.
No, if you read enough, if you do enough research, you shouldn't fuck it up, right? You should take your time with these games. And you're telling me that out of all the things that you sat there and you're like, good, we can make a Star Wars game finally because they're not going to do the exclusive contract. What's the first thing that we have on this table? Let's get Jenny that delivers our coffee. Let's model the character after Jenny, and she's going to go on this adventure where she steals an artifact. And it's going to be just like Indiana Jones. That's your Star Wars game? You know what I say? How did Darth Maul survive? Let's make that game. Let's make that game. Let's make that game. Let's take something else. Let's take something radical. How did Qui-Gon Jinn become a good Jedi Master? That story is not explored.
Do you feel confident enough that they would make that game good though, given the history of what they've done?
I'd rather them try. I'd rather them try.
Okay.
I'd rather them try because the game looks beautiful. You can't take that away from the game. The game itself looks beautiful. That ship combat looks beautiful. The gun combat looks okay. It looks generic, but it's going to be another Ubisoft game where, hey, we just got to this planet, but we can't see anything. Why don't you go climb this tower over here? And by climbing the tower, you can know where all the bandits are. And let's go to this bandit so we can stop their weapon supplies from going here. It's an Ubisoft game at the end of the day. That's exactly how it's going to play out. I don't have any confidence that it's going to play any differently. I would have rather you put me in Luke Skywalker shoes if I'm going to do some shit like that. Because at least I'll look cooler.
Well. We'll see. We'll have to see how that.
All right. But I'm really wrong in my predictions. I hope I'm wrong. Okay. I like being wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong in this. I think it's going to play like an Ubisoft game. I think it's going to be so generic, and at the end of the day, you're not going to remember this character. You don't even remember what her name is, and I think they said it in the trailer a few times.
I don't remember her name.
It's Jenny. She gets us coffee.
Hey, all right. So let's move on. Fable.
We differ here. I thought the humor in Fable was enjoyable, and I see where they're going. I do hope that that's not. I'm hoping that you don't play as that one character, right? I'm hoping that's just somebody that they edited and they wanted to throw in the trailer.
Well, in Fable, they normally give you the choices, boy or girl. But I didn't like it because one, the character designs, the way it looked, I was just not a fan of the way it looked. And it seemed like, don't tell me that has to be at least one part of the game. You're in this dude's house, and what are you, Jack be nimble, Jack the beanstalk. Like
That's
what
cool.
is going on?
I thought that was cool.
Now, what I would think, I'm not saying that they're gonna do this, but it could be that Fable could be just that. The new Fable game could be you as a character going through the stories, the childhood stories. That story could have been Jack and the Beanstalk. You know what I mean? Another one might be the little old lady in the shoe or Hansel and Gretel. Who knows? It's called Fable. You know, it's like how Shrek is. Like Shrek is putting that fantasy world on like Once Upon a Time, where all of these fantasy stories connect and come together. So who knows? They moved away from what I saw. They moved away from the regular Fable stuff.
No, I think it's gonna be fine. I think you're thinking too much. I think the Fable stuff is gonna be in there. I think that's gonna have all the charm of Fable. I think it's gonna have I'm hoping that it has a little bit more deeper combat and a little bit more deeper stat system than Fable 3 had. I hope they go back to like Fable 2 was pretty good. But I wouldn't mind if the stories actually are these childhood fairy tales told in a twisted way, right? And the reason I say that is because I've always loved stuff like that. There's actually a game right now on Steam. I had to just look it up because I couldn't remember it. It's called Lies of P, right? And so Lies of P is actually inspired by Pinocchio. And it's a Dark Souls game.
And so Lies of P.
Lies of P. So it's inspired by Pinocchio, and it's a Souls-like game, and it's a hard game with big bosses, you know, right up your alley. I know how much you love Elden Ring. But what it is that I think you're a fallen something, whatever the case may be, and like a butterfly spirit inhabits you or whatever. And he's like, wake up, you gotta wake up, and you're Pinocchio, and you're going through the story. And the characters that you meet, you're trying to essentially save or try to help them out. And the ways you help them out is by either telling the truth or lying. And this, I think this affects your combat abilities and affects the different paths that get open.
Can you lie so that your nose grows so big that you snatch it off and stab somebody with it?
I don't know if your nose grows big, but I think there's physical appearances that change. I gotta double check that for you. But I know something happens. No, but it's called Lies of P.
The more you lie, the more you turn into a tree. The more you tell the truth, the more you turn into a real person. You know what I mean?
No. I think that when you twist stuff on its head, it's fantastic. You know, it's better than getting Jenny from.
It's shaking it up. You're shaking it up a little bit. All right, so you had Payday 3, which is like a Grand Theft Auto meets first person shooter, where it's like the robbery, the heist kind of stuff. So if people are into that, you know, that's the game. Payday. They're up to the third one, I guess, is Payday 3.
Yeah, Payday is it's a hub thing. You and a group of friends come together and you do a heist. I got Payday 2. Okay. I got Payday 2. Yeah.
Persona 3 Reloaded looks definitely one of those, you know, it's a Persona game. I mean, what more can you expect? So it's like they're gonna keep churning these things out until people get tired of them, but I don't think they are because they just keep making them. So
and this is a remake.
All right, Avowed. This is my Elder Scrolls fix until they come out with it. This right here, I wrote it down. So this is my Elder Scrolls fix. My next sword and board fantasy game.
I want to see more. I want to see more from it, but it looks good every time I see it.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're gonna handle magic, because supposedly, from what I understand, is that one of the biggest problems that Elder Scrolls had was when you had, because you know, magic in this hand, the weapon in this hand, you would have you can't have a two-hander, right?
Right.
And shoot a fireball like this. You'd have to switch and in your hand, you know, and to shoot the fireballs. They wouldn't allow you to have the two-hander and shoot fireballs. You can have a sword in this hand and shoot fire out of this one, but the way this game looks like, it looks like that you can conjure magic while holding weapons, which I always thought would be dope. Because my thing is, if you do have a two-handed weapon, fucking let go. Like, come on. I think that pissed me off when I was playing the game. I'm like, come on. You got a great sword. You swinging and swinging. What happens to putting the sword on your shoulder and then shooting a fireball? Like, you
got to remember, Skyrim came out, was it like 13
No, that's
years ago?
True. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. But this game right here, I'm hoping that it took from, you know, because Skyrim was the dude. And honestly, I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Skyrim was the fucking RPG game to have until Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry. I gotta give credit where credit is due.
Oh, absolutely.
Skyrim
it redefined open world. It redefined
it did. It was made. How many times did it I kid you not. Every time they released it and re-released it, people bought this shit up like cookies.
It's on Alexa.
What I mean? And then the mods what kept it alive. The modding community is what kept Skyrim alive. But it was the quintessential game as far as RPG open world. It was fucking amazing. But now it's on that Tears and Breath of the Wild shit. We got to get more of those out there. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that Avowed took all of that and put it together, because I'm hoping me, I'm an Elder Scrolls dude. I'm hoping that they knock the next one out the park, because what Todd Howard said, that this is his last Elder Scrolls game. That not maybe the last Elder Scrolls game per se, but it's going to be the last game with him.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And Persona, we got. Hey, I didn't know Rare and Lucasfilms did Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, that was Rare's game. Because remember, Microsoft
and
bought
Lucasfilms.
Yeah, Microsoft bought Rare a long time ago. Yeah.
No, I know that, but Lucasfilms is attached to them. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, I think they're attached to the this expansion.
So this is expansion. Out. Okay.
Yeah, this is like an expansion thing. Sea of Thieves is the live action game. I wish I got into it because it looks a little bit fun, but it started off poorly.
It looked that's the same thing I said. Like the beginning of it looked and here's the word, generic, right, bro? Like it was just plain. It was a plain Jane, and I'm like, they just trying to capitalize off of this Pirates of the Caribbean. They just trying.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
But it has people play this game, and who knows? We'll have to dive into that one day.
Maybe we'll check it out.
We'll check it out. Okay, Flight Simulator. This Flight Simulator looks sick.
It always looks good. It always looks good. It's just that I don't think it could hold my interest though. But it looks good. It looks good.
I think for a little bit. I think you might be right. It might be fun for a little bit, because I played. You played Police Simulator?
Yes.
It held my interest for a little bit. Then I was like, I'm good. Okay, Hellblade 2. Yeah.
I never played the first Hellblade. I thought it was good. I think this is probably going to be a fine game as well.
Path of the Goddess.
That looks so generic. I don't know about that one.
You know why? I would play it, because it's one of those. It's like the closest game on Xbox that you can get to, one of those other games that's on PlayStation that deals with the same thing. So I might play that. Now, here's the game that another Breath of the Wild got his hands all over. Is it Justin? Justin, Jusant, Justin. It's the climbing game. It's a climbing.
I don't think I remember that.
Constantly climbing. And I wrote right here, as big as day. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom style.
I would have to look that up again. I don't remember that one. I don't remember.
Okay, well, look that when you get a chance. It's called Justin. Jusant. Definitely one of those games. Now, Cyberpunk coming out with this. I believe this is their first big expansion.
Yeah.
Or DLC to the game. Phantom Liberty has Idris
I would check
Elba in it.
Yeah, I would check it out, because I didn't have issues with Cyberpunk like people did when I played.
Same, likewise. I didn't have those issues either.
I didn't think it was a 10 out of 10, but I put it up there high, especially because I had a lot of fun. But it was so broken that I was OP, because I just had a sword. But I liked it. I thought it was fantastic. I wouldn't mind checking it out, seeing, because I've heard that they fixed everything. Well, not everything, but they fixed the game to where it's playable.
It's playable. Majority of it, like 90-something%.
I wouldn't mind revisiting it with this expansion. I think
maybe I think I would too. My only issue with the game ever has always been the first person bullshit. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that, because there's so many cool cosmetics in this game that you to limit the character just to see his fucking hands is atrocious to me. So that's the only part. But I still would play the game. Now, the last thing of my notes, we done went through everything now, is Blink. You know what this is? Starfield. I
was gonna come up with a snappy joke, but I couldn't.
Starfield.
Well, let me start off with Starfield real quick.
Go ahead.
Because with Starfield, we've always speak about games back and forth, and that's one of the reasons why we did this channel, is so we can let people into our crazy conversations that we had.
That's exactly. Multitap is really a channel of me and you and our games, nerd pop culture stuff, our conversations put live, well, not really live, but to you guys out there. So again, you're exactly correct. Continue.
Yeah. So we went back and forth with Starfield for the longest time, and I doubted them, even though I still liked Fallout 76. I didn't think they had the capacity to deliver a game that would be as engaging as Starfield, right? And so we've seen videos of this prior to this, and then I doubled down on my skepticism, and I've told you that before. Um, Lee Boy will tell you I rarely admit when I'm wrong, and I am wrong here, 100% wrong. I thought this was just they knocked it out of the park with this presentation. I think that this is why they had it at the tail end. This is why they had the massive amount of time dedicated to this, because they needed to show people that this was No Man's Skyrim. Like, this is really a vast, vast world. Oh, worlds, because it's over 1,000 worlds. There are some problems that I think this is still going to run into. I don't know how engaging each planet will be, how many quests each planet will be. It may be where you get on a planet, there's one quest, and that's it. You're done with the planet. So keep that in mind when you're going into this, because it's going to be hard to make every planet like Skyrim level of like crowded and dense and packed with quests and all this other stuff. It's hard to that unless they do I know a lot of the worlds are procedurally generated, but if they have a procedurally generated quest system, that may help with it. But if they go that route, it's also going to mean that you're doing the same type of quest over and over and over and over and over again, and it might end up being boring. So there are still some things there, but everything that they showcase, from the customizability, the combat, the jumping around, the gravity, the space combat, they had me sold when you can actually board the ships that you defeat. Just fantastic all around. So
about space magic?
Yeah, and space magic. Yeah,
space magic. I was like, what? Space magic? The thing with me when it came down, and here's the thing, just to your credit, Mr. Self-proclaimed King of Games. Just to your credit, though, I will say this: and I said this off camera, and I'll say it on camera. You had every right to be skeptical, though. The industry has not given anyone credence to really believe in what they can do when it's such a market driven toward greed, where it's money over quality in these games. And Bethesda has been guilty of this. So it's not to say that you said you admit that you're wrong. That's cool. But again, I said to you personally, was you had every right to feel that way because of how the industry treats its fans and how it treats its customers. The only thing that was different between me and you in that argument was the fact that I held out hope, and I normally do sometimes. You know me, I hold it out until the end until I'm burned. But I held it out because I'm like, I felt that Bethesda deep down as a company and who they are, their reputation, they were pretty much nobodies. They built their reputation on delivering quality shit. You know what I'm saying? Like again, Skyrim was their biggest thing for a long time. Fallout was a big thing for them. And then when they started to experiment and get into that greed, they started to notice the fans turned on them. They were becoming EA. You know what I'm saying? Like
just to
EA.
Just so we can stop real quick.
Hold on. They were turning into EA. And with that being said, it was like they needed something to turn that narrative around. And I said, and I told you this game is either going to make or break them, the way they deliver this. And I felt like they had to deliver a gem. They had to knock this shit out the park in order to get people back in their good graces.
Right,
what you was going to say?
Now, I just wanted to say that I don't want you to knock every other company, because every other company actually built themselves off of a good reputation. It's when you started getting into these big corporations is when they started to deteriorate it, because games used to just be about creativity and trying to sell that creativity to the niche marketplace. But when you got the casual market coming in and these companies were like, oh, we can make big monies, let's just keep it generic and then people are like, but what if we add this? No, that's too much work, it's too much money, too much of a risk. It's sort of like movies nowadays, how movies play it safe, games play it safe. And so a lot of these bigger corporations play it safe and they wind up burning themselves in the end. So I don't want you to take away credit saying that Bethesda was the only person that, you didn't say that they were the only person, but I don't want the audience to think that Bethesda was the only company that built it like this. Right. Mostly every company was, even EA was like this, because EA was a definitive sports company when they were coming up, and they also had other stuff as well. So even EA was a good company. I just thought that it was so corporated. I always come up with words. corporize that. I didn't think that they were going to be able to deliver on something like this. I thought it was going to be another No Man's Sky when No Man's Sky first came out because they fixed it later. But just a little bit more polished with a little bit more graphics because the promise of this kind of game is larger than anything that we've seen before. So that was where
the scope of this game is huge.
Yeah.
Really huge. And that's the reason why when you said what you said before, you was like, you doubted them. He's like, nah, they're not going. They say, like, remember how Fable, when Fable, like the first 2 Fable games, the guy behind it, I think it's Peter, I can't remember his last name. He was talking all kind of smack on what he wanted to do and put in the game. And then he even still blamed them for not putting in the game because it's like, I have an idea to what I want to put in the game, but it just can't be done. And man, I had all kind of hope for Fable. It still turned out that Fable 1, 2,
it was good.
Of course, 3 was good games, but what he was talking about doing with the game was never done before.
Yeah, because remember in the first Fable, if say you kill somebody's father, and when time passes on, they were supposed to come back for you with their whole posse and kill you. If you step on a butterfly, it might grow into a tree. It was a whole bunch of crazy.
It was a whole. He sold me on that, bro. Like,
I think he's
in town and you ravage it, but you may leave like one kid may be alive and you killed his parents and he may grow. And there was supposed to be like an alternate hero system they were supposed to implement where your character has a rival in the world who's doing the opposite of what you're doing. So if you're evil, there's a guy doing heroics, and you're basically trying to undermine each other. I was what? That's crazy.
So what I'm hoping is like you know, with all this stuff with like AI and stuff coming up, I'm hoping that, and I believe Peter Molyneux nowadays is doing software, but I hope that he comes back later on, maybe like 10 years after AI is fully developed, because I think if with AI you can actually have those type of characters with those real feelings. And I think that he'll try to push the Fable next or something like that. And then maybe he can get his full vision, because I think that full vision would have been perfect had we had the technology able to realize it.
So again, with Starfield, we have there's a mix of a lot of different I want to say stuff that they're tapping their toes into. It's a first person shooter. It's a fantasy game. It's it's Star Wars, Mass Effect. It's all because you know how they're gonna bring it. You know, when it comes down to how Bethesda does they RPG games.
Yeah, Star Wars, Mass Effect craft.
Yo, it's all of that. And look, who's not on board with that? And if I'm not mistaken, this game is not going to be exclusive to just Xbox, right?
I'm not sure. They still haven't said it yet.
Oh, so the word is still not out on that.
Yeah, it's still not. It's not. I don't think it's going. I mean, it's going to be on PC regardless, right? But I know people are getting mad because the Xbox version is capped at 30 frames per second. But you got to look at how massive this game is. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's for consoles.
What was the most impressive thing about Starfield to you? Like, what stood out the most to you about the game that intrigued you, that made you go, I like that?
It wasn't one particular thing. It was the combination of all the systems, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I didn't think it was going to work well together. Like the first thing I seen when I seen it, I was like, I knew it was going to be like No Man's Sky. I knew exactly how it was going to be. You get all those vibes, just look prettier. And they started doing the shooting combat. And the first thing I thought was, I was like, hopefully I can go third person because Lee Boy's not going to like this. I said, so I hope they can go third person because it's just a generic shooter outside of that. And then he started using the jetpack, and I'm like, okay, you can use the jetpack and float around. And they confirmed that it was third person. I was like, all right, Lee Boy can get on this, right? This is his rocking his deal. And so they were doing that, and then they were going in and so it was sort of like a steps, right? So it was like a ladder to me. Like I thought, like this shelf is cool, but wow, this shelf is better. But wow, this shelf. So as we got
gradually built
the game just kept getting better. It kept getting better and better, and it didn't sound like it was impossible because they were showing everything, right? So it's not like they gave me this laundry list of features that they have, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's never going to be delivered. They kept showing everything, and one of the best things in this trailer that is probably going to be underrated was when there was a lady that was talking, and she was like, what I like to do is to be the pirate, and I like to collect all the sandwiches and have a special place in my sandwich bay. And the fact that you can play like that is huge. right? And then they showed it. She's sitting there and she grabs all the sandwiches and she just kept throwing them on top of each other. And she had like this massive piles of sandwiches. And it's like the fact that you have that freedom, and people are gonna look at that and they're gonna be like, why is he talking about sandwiches? That's so stupid. The fact that you can do that means that you have a lot of freedom in the game. First off, she can steal the sandwiches and she can place them in her ship where she wanted to and not just let it plop down in the generic area. She can throw it wherever she wants and it piles up and there's physics to it and it's falling over. And I start to see the capabilities of that, not just from the sandwich perspective, but of what you can do in terms of the game. Because you can steal every object in the game, you can put every object, and so you can really customize your ship and things like that.
They just built the game that modders are going to be messing with for years to come.
This game is good. This is easily 1,000-hour game.
Yeah,
easily.
The biggest takeaway from the game for me, one of the things that stood out for me the most was, of course, the thing that again I think the game hinges itself on is the fact that the ship, the building of the ship, and I know they showed it before, but it's like that always my mind goes to different places because the way you can customize this ship. You got people out there making Millennium Falcon straight up. You know what I'm saying?
They made a mech. They made like a half of a Transformer mech.
You know, so it's how you customize it, how you build it, and I'm pretty sure that I want to. I mean, I don't know if it's in the game or not, but I'm pretty sure that you may have to go to different planets to get resources to build and expand upon your ship or make it faster. You know, add certain customizations to it. You know, and then the combat, the fighting in space, like this game. If I mean, I don't want to prematurely say as game of the year written all over it because we don't know how it's going to turn out. It could turn into a piece of shit, you know. But if they go on track of what they're doing and what they're putting in this, man, I mean, this is massive. And then think about the expansions and what more. Like I could see this being their GTA. I don't know how far ahead they're thinking with it, but remember I always told you that a lot of game companies are looking for that GTA formula. Not so much they want to be GTA, but they want to make that one game that they could just milk for years on end, just adding little stuff to it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that they might have that on their hands with this one. They might have, because from what I heard, they've been dealing with this game, since 2016? Yeah. This game has been in development, or a little longer than that.
The thing that's going to stop it from being long term like GTA is there's no multiplayer, and that's my one gripe with this game is I wish there was, even if it was just drop in drop out co-op and you take back resources to your home world, you don't even have to complete the same story missions or anything like that. I just wish there was some way you can experience this with each other outside of what modders are going to be doing, because they're going to make it capable for you to do that. But I want an official way for you to do that. And one of the ways that I think they can do it is if they was to do like 4 to 6 player co-op, where you join somebody's world and there's a raid going on in a particular planet, like the planet of Alpha Centauri is being attacked by an alien invasion. And then you group up with 4 people and you go and you do a raid and you get loot and you get new type of drops and things like that. You can expand this game to a tremendous amount of
I can see that happening. Because remember, GTA did it with their sub online game. Like you literally have another game. Like you have the GTA, the regular game, and then you have the online game from that one game. So I can see that happening.
But they built that with that in mind. I don't think Starfield was built with multiplayer in mind, or at least they haven't shown anything like that. It was built.
Well, put it like this: I would say if it's successful, if the game is successful, if it goes the way it goes, that idea could be something that they can explore in the future. So it just basically sets up what they could do later on. So it's a good starting point. They have a great starting point right now with this game. Yeah. All right. So with that being said, we done covered all the games I believe we covered all the games from both the Xbox side and the PlayStation side. And soon next week, I believe they're gonna have the Nintendo one, which I'm pretty sure you're psyched for that one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end it like this since we're wrapping it up. What are you expecting? What do you hope, rather, that comes from this the upcoming Nintendo showcase?
I don't know, because they delivered.
Come on, Kruja.
With Tears of the Kingdom. I would have to say they got to release another Mario.
Another Mario?
Because it's been just as long since they had Mario. And if they could do another 1-2 punch, that'd be crazy. because what they did was they released Breath of the Wild, and then like 4 or 5 months later, Mario Odyssey came out, and Mario Odyssey didn't have this huge following. That I mean, it didn't have a huge marketing that Zelda had, because Zelda was known for years, and then Mario Odyssey they like announced it and dropped it 3 months later, and so I would say that's what they would need to do. Um, they need another Switch. They need a new Switch. It's showing its age.
That's what I was waiting to hear from
They
you.
need a Switch.
That right there.
They need a Switch too, and they shouldn't change it up because Nintendo historically likes to change up their systems. I don't think they should do that now because the Switch is such a success that I think they just need to make a successor. They need to make a traditional, tried and true sequel to this system. Don't try to go crazy with it. You don't need to. Just give it more power. Give it something for developers to work with.
So you thinking that they should announce a new Switch, but this new Switch is basically it's the same thing, but an upgraded version of it,
Right.
more powerful, something
More
that
powerful.
you know that can play your old games and whatever new that comes out.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's what I was waiting for. You said Mario first, you threw me off. I was like, oh man, I hope he says he wants a new system because that seems like everybody in the Switch community. Because now that I play these games, that seems to be the echo. That seems to be the echo sentiment that everybody's saying. Like everybody's saying, we want a stronger. They wouldn't mind a bigger screen, but more so out of anything, they want more power. They want more power in the system. You know what I mean? Like if nothing changes, like how they did with the OLED, like they made the screen a little bit bigger, but if nothing changes outside of that factor, more power. Give us more beef. Give us a little bit more beef.
That's what I would say because the Switch, and I'm just afraid that they're not going to do that. It seems silly because it seems like it's a no-brainer, but Nintendo they march to their own beat. They march to their own beat, and I'm afraid that they're gonna try to go back to traditional consoles and they're gonna fuck up the current marketplace that they have. Maybe they make the Switch 2 with 2 screens, like with the DS like they had. So I'm hoping they don't do something like that either, because even though that'd be okay, but it's too bulky. There's too much battery life.
Bro, you gonna be playing this? Fuck, you gonna be?
No, you won't play like that. No, it flips open. Like
You went like this though. I was like, what? Like what? Why would you play like that for?
No, it flips open. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think the formula they got right now, it works. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't sit there and mess it up. And I think you shoot yourself in the foot by doing that. Like you said, did you just say that going back to console, like going back to being stationary at home, when everybody loves what they're doing now?
They would do something like that.
Because like you said, they do march to their own beat. And they like to, like, if we made it, we'll burn it. We'll destroy it. We won't let nobody else destroy it because that's how Nintendo is. But they shouldn't do that. That'll be very detrimental to what they got going on right now with the system selling the way it's selling, the attention that it's getting. And I think it'll probably get more attention and more people on board if they beef the system up. If they beefed it up a little bit more and had it where developers can have an easier time making games for it, or even porting games over to it, making it look slightly better than what it does now, I think that would even help them, But yeah, man, I'm hoping for another one because me, I'm using the kids joint, whatever. But I don't want to sit there and purchase one for them to come out with this.
You shouldn't.
I know there's a TikToker. This guy always does that. He talks about how he got hyped. He bought this thing, and the next thing you know, Nintendo was like, "Yeah, you ready for that new Switch?" And he's like, "No, I just bought the Zelda edition."
if this was 2 years ago, I would recommend it. But at this stage in the game, it's 6 years into the Switch life cycle, so I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it.
I mean, if they future proof it, they good. You know what I mean? If they like you said, just beef it up with more power. And I think that one of the things they don't want to do is, and I've said this before about them as a company, and we're gonna end it over here, is they don't want to be the third wheel. They don't want to be the third wheel.
No.
You know what I mean? They don't want to be that third wheel. Like, for example, if we do or have the same power and capability as the other two companies, what is it that why would they want to come and have us be the third wheel? The thing is now is that they're in a position, such a good position rather, that they may not have to be the third wheel anymore because their first party games are excellent. And all people really want is like me. I want to play the grown-up games that I like on the system.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. You know, give the other guys something to want to throw there. Because I mean, who wouldn't want some of that market? You know what I'm saying? 2K would love. That's why 2K, no matter what, they still try to bring their games to the Switch. They're like, look, we got to get into that market. We got to get in there. We got to get
the only ones that is EA. EA is hard-headed when they're bringing games over to the Switch.
But imagine though, UFC on your Switch.
Yeah.
FIFA, which is probably the number one selling game.
FIFA's on the Switch, but the thing is, it's been the same game since but it's been the same game since 2017. It's just that
that's ugly.
They update the roster and make you pay $60 for it.
That's disgusting.
It even states it on the box.
That's disgusting.
It's the same game.
That is disgusting.
It's been the same. I kid you not. It's been the same again.
And how much they charge you for that game?
60.
Nah.
And but they are fully transparent and tell you all it is a roster update.
I'm good. That's been the summer of 2023. It's not done. We got Nintendo next. So we seen hopefully our prediction from the King of Games over here, the self-proclaimed King of Games.
I don't think they're gonna announce a Switch 2 yet. I don't think they're gonna. No? I want them to, but I don't think so. I think the showing might actually be lackluster. I don't. That's probably why they put it out, because they would have already put it out by now. So we'll see.
So we'll see what's going on with Nintendo. Crew just says it's going to be a Mario game. He believes that a Mario game will be announced. We're hoping that a Switch 2 gets announced, but we'll see. Nintendo is up next. Look out for all of those great games, and we want to see in the comment section what games are you looking forward to most playing on these consoles. My name is Lee Boy, your host, along with the self-proclaimed King of Games. He gets it in, Kruja, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.